p.m. To ask a question for Coach Saban, please press 10 on your telephone's keypad now. And, Coach, while we wait on those questions, if you could please take a moment to comment on your team as you enter Saturday's game at LSU.
Well, this is a really challenging game for us. LSU's very well coached, and they're playing, as well as anybody in the country. To this point in the season, they've got great balance on offense. Their defense has been, really consistent and tough and create lots of issues and problems. And, Jaden Daniels is, probably as good a quarterback when it comes to passing and running as anybody you're going to face. So really challenging game for us. Focus has been good on our team side. So just got to, attach ourselves to the right things so that we give ourselves the best chance to play well.
First up, we have Scooter Hobbs of the Lake Charles American Press.
Hey, Coach. I understand before he took the LSU job that Brian Kelly called to get your thoughts on it. But how much could you relate with us, what that conversation was about?
Well, not to divulge anything that I talked to anybody else about, but, LSU is, people who have great passion there. It's a really good, football job in every way. You got a lot of good players in the state, and, you got great support and great passion. So, and he's done a really good job of, creating sort of the intangibles that you need to have a really good team. So I've always thought LSU is a special place because of the passion and the people and the commitment they have, their standard of excellence.
Thank you.
Next is Mason Smith of Bama Central.
Good morning, Coach. I wanted to ask you about the running game leading up to LSU. I know you want to work on being more consistent in that aspect. How confident do you feel about the running game heading into LSU?
Well, LSU's got a very good defense, and their front seven is really, really good. So it's going to be a challenge, for us. It's just something that, we got to focus on what we need to do to execute and do the things that we need to do a little bit better. That's what we can control. That's what we need to do. But I think having balance on offense is really important to being successful. So that's what we're focused on.
Next is AP Stedham of WHEP.
Yeah, good morning, Coach. Coach, I was going to ask you about Jaden Daniels. What are some of the things he's doing now that he wasn't doing at the beginning of the season that is a challenge? And when you play a mobile quarterback and they have that ability to run, does it affect your coverage as maybe less man-to-man, or just your defensive backs have a second eye, keeping an eye on the quarterback when they start to run?
Yeah. Well, I think it depends on what you're playing, whether you're playing zone or man. If you're playing man, you got to watch your man, so you can't watch the quarterback too. But look, I think Jaden Daniels has played well all year. I think their whole offense, being a new system, whether it's the receivers, the offensive line, the running backs, they've all gotten more confident in their ability to execute and understand what is expected of them to be able to execute successfully. And I think he sort of has benefited from the same things, much more comfortable with the system. And, that's enhanced his ability to improve and play better. Not that I thought that he ever played poorly. I just think that, their whole offensive team has sort of developed through the course of the season with a better understanding of the whole offensive system and scheme.
Thank you.
Next is Wilson Alexander, The Advocate.
Hey, Nick, what did Eli Ricks ultimately do to get on the field for y'all, and what does having him at corner do for your secondary?
Right, well, Eli just had to go through a lot of transitions here in terms of what he had learned before and trying to learn our system and getting confident in it. And so we always thought he could be a really good player. I thought he played well in the last game, and hopefully he'll be able to build on that and stay focused on the things that he needs to do to execute well at his position.
Next we'll go to Glenn Gilbo of Outkick.
Coach, when you think of old school football, does that 2011 Alabama LSU game, the overtime game in Tuscaloosa, does that come to mind? What do you remember about that one?
Yeah, I remember a lot about it, but it was a great game. There was a lot of great players on the field. Both teams competed extremely well in the game. We came up short in the game, but it was a physical, tough game. But I think the one thing that kind of shows you from 2011 to now how much the game has really changed in a lot of ways. And I think, I'm not saying it didn't change for the better, but that was, like you said, old-fashioned football, probably at its finest with two really good teams. And yeah, but it's a lot different now in terms of how people play.
Well, were games at that time easier to prepare for as a defensive coach because you didn't have nearly the wide receivers and just the offenses, speed of the offenses and so forth?
Well, but it still came down to your ability to execute, even though there was more running, more smash mouth. You had to play physical, and you had to, beat blockers, and you had to block people. And so even though the game plan may be a little bit simpler, the challenges were still pretty significant.
Right. Thanks.
Coach, wrap you up with Steve Moulton of WZZN.
Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
I was hoping you could speak about your offensive line. Where do you feel like they're at right now, Coach?
I think the bye week has done them well. I think we've been able to improve pretty significantly, over this week, and we'll see and make an assessment of how they play in the game, which is what's the most important thing.
Was hoping you could also speak to Koop-Aid and his development. Where do you feel like he's at right now in your squad, Coach?
Who is that?
Koop-Aid. Yes, sir.
He's been a pretty consistent player. I think ability to stay focused and sustain the season is always important. The way you practice is important. Develop good habits in practice. So there's nobody on our team that can't improve and play better. But Kool-Aid's had a pretty consistent year to this point.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach, thank you for your time.
Yep.
For Coach Kelly, please press 10 on your telephone's keypad. And Coach, while we wait on those questions, if you could take a moment to comment on your team as you enter the Alabama game on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we were off last week and certainly preparing for an outstanding football team in Alabama. Our guys are certainly, prepared for the very best. We're going against a Heisman Trophy winner and, a consistent elite football team that Coach Saban puts out there each and every week. So we know the challenge in front of us. But it's an exciting opportunity for our football team to play in Tiger Stadium on national TV, and we welcome the challenge, and we know it's going to be a great one. But these are the games that you look forward to playing when you're at LSU, and that's why these kids come here. And so, again, our preparation will be the key here as we continue to go through the week. And we'll have to play our very best, and our players will have to be at their very best against a great opponent.
First up, we have Wilson Alexander, the Advocate. Go ahead, Wilson.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Wilson.
Yes. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Just your injured guys, Garrett, Jack Best, John Emery, how are they doing this week? And do you think the three of them will play?
Yes. Emery practiced well the last couple of days, so he is a go. Besh has practiced well. He is a go. Dellinger was better yesterday. I'm going to still reserve judgment on him until we get to game day. So he would be probably a day-to-day situation.
If Garrett is able to play, just how does it kind of affect what y'all are doing in terms of who's starting on the offensive line.
Yeah, I don't think we would put him back into the starting rotation, but he would be somebody that would be able to be in a rotation for us, which would be very beneficial, and being able to take some of the snaps away from, the rotation at the guard position. And if it can, give us that kind of depth at the guard position, that helps us out in the long run. So it'd be great to get him back. We don't need him back for 60 snaps, but if we could get 20 to 25 really good quality snaps, it just makes us more effective throughout the game at the guard position.
Next is Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports.
Hey, Brian, I wonder if you could speak in general to not just, schools wanting to turn it around, but wanting to turn it around right away. I'm not speaking specifically of LSU, but just in general.
Well, everywhere there is this need to want to see results. Our society is about that, right? So there's no patience for long-term plans anymore. So I think everybody goes in it with their eyes wide open that, you're looking to find immediate results. Now, things that have happened that allow that to come together quicker are seen with transferring. The transfer portal in particular allows you to restock, if you will, in terms of bringing in more mature players. If this was just building with freshmen, the process could in fact take longer. But there are some accelerants in that sense because of the ability to transfer in the transfer portal. Having said that, you still have to be able to, create your program from within. You still have to get buy-in. You still have to be able to create, the right standards and the right relationships and the right coaching staff and the right support staff. So there are a lot of moving pieces other than just saying, hey, just rely on the transfer portal and all things will be great. But that's kind of my take on, the move towards accelerating and turning it around quicker.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Next is Tom Van Haren of ESPN.
Hi, Brian. I was curious with the transfer portal windows, the dates that the players can enter. I just wanted to see what your thoughts are on the actual window. If you have some concerns about creating these windows, if you like it, if it helps make roster management easier, what was your opinion on that?
Yeah, we had some deep discussions at the SEC meetings, very frank, open discussions. And look, there's never going to be, 100% unanimous agreement on it because there are pieces there that, influence, how things affect the student athlete and how they affect the, ultimately setting up your roster. I think this is the best solution that gives the student athlete the opportunity to get into a transfer situation if they deem to get one, and allow roster management. And it allows, both of them to take place in a manner that doesn't bring in a lot of other things that could create anxiety, such as tampering or giving up on the season or, doing things that just create distractions. And so I think when all parties got together, and including, student athletes that weighed in on this, I think everybody felt like that this was the best decision.
Do you think, is there any concern for the personnel department that, because you basically have to wait to see who's in there, and I know there's there's hints here and there, or players might redshirt, but the personnel departments, it seems like they just have to scout everybody now, just in case.
Well, certainly, I think you have to do your due diligence, similar to what an NFL board would do relative to people that are put on the waiver wire or people that are free agents or anything like that. You better know, the guys that, are from the areas that you're interested in looking at. And so I think it expands your personnel department and puts more of an emphasis on understanding, players that are in other programs. Absolutely.
Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Next, we'll go to Leah Vann of The Advocate.
Hey, Coach. You talked about the importance of getting B.J. Ojolari and Harold Perkins on the field at the same time, which you did a couple times against Ole Miss. How, schematically can that work, and how often can you use both of those guys at the same time?
Well, we have the ability to make defensive calls to have them on the field the whole time. So we just wanted to add that into our defensive call structure to make sure if that's what we felt was best for our team, that they could be on the field at the same time. We had to do that in certain situational calls, meaning, third down or some nickel or dime situations. Now we can play base defense with both of them on the field. So now we have the ability to do that at any time, and that's really the biggest difference.
Coach, we'll wrap you up with Steve Moulton of WZZN.
Coach, hope you're doing well today. Appreciate the time as always, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I wanted to ask, where do you feel like your team has grown the most since the Florida State game, Coach?
We would take 20 minutes, 30 minutes. There's so many areas. I just think, understanding, this was a big change for them, and adapting to the new standards on a day-to-day basis, building different habits, and just thinking right about, everything they do relative to their preparation. I think that's probably the two biggest things, and has allowed them to take their preparation to a new level, which has allowed them to perform better.
And if you could speak to what you've seen on film of Bryce Young and the challenges that he faced, that challenges your squad this weekend, Coach.
Yeah, there's no real good answer. If I had one, I certainly would be voicing it. That he is, in many instances, you can't defend him because he's so elusive and he wants to throw the football. I mean, he could take off so many times, but he's trying to find receivers down the field, and just has a great awareness, a sense. He's a true quarterback. He's not a scramble around guy that's just, throwing it up there. He's very intentional about everything that he does. He's not taking sacks. He's the Heisman Trophy winner, and he should be. He's the best player in college football.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
That's all for today, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.